Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff and I'm joined as always by my good buddies Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael debate and deliberate the most ubiquitous aspects of all the important things in life, the big topics, the big relatable universal topics. And this week is no different as we debate the Mount Rushmore of Jack Black, and the most black of Jackness looking person currently, at least with his crazy hair. Richard, right? Did you come
Yeah.
over?
Should I just jump into my first choice then?
Well,
Yeah.
whose topic was this?
Why are we standing on ceremony? I thought it was Richard's.
No, it wasn't.
No,
Oh,
yours.
so I'm so sorry. It was yours?
I believe it's yours, Jeff. Let me look it up, but I don't remember.
God.
Yeah. So no, this is a Michael Winfield joint.
It is.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Michael, were you asking that rhetorically?
No, it was
okay.
purely had no idea. Just
Well, we begged for listeners to suggest topics, and now we're doing it in our sleeps, evidently.
yeah.
Let's start making up listeners who have submitted. Jack Sheboygan from Walla Walla, Washington sent this one in.
Oh, Mr. Sheboygan, thank you so much.
Walla Walla, right up there with Cucamonga and all the other good Bugs Bunny.
The Looney Tunes.
Yeah. I can only assume that I was watching a Jack Black vehicle, whatever it was, and he's so interesting. Right before we started recording, we were talking about Jack Black being in his this phase of life of just unhinged joy, especially during the pandemic. And I think Jack Black as a person, not necessarily as like the character of Jack Black, as a person, he seems like so just individual. He doesn't seem to care what however he's dressed. He no matter what he does, he seems like very comfortable in his own little rotund body. And I think it comes across in like everything he does. And I don't know. I think he's just fun. And I don't think I think it's good that he doesn't seem like a dick. I just like that he doesn't seem like a dick, even though sometimes he plays one to great extremes in some of his his roles. But he's also like multifaceted. He's a funny man and a musician, and has done some drama type stuff, and then he'll be all over the place. I think that's great.
Yeah, so he is definitely on the he might be on our Mount Rushmore of people you'd be disappointed in if they got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there with Dave Grohl, maybe a few others, where it's just like, if you found out that Jack Black, there was some like sketchy issue with him, you would definitely be like, oh man, him? Yeah. No, not him. And certainly I'm not implying that he would be or is or anything like that. Quite the opposite. It seems like he is somebody who is so genuine and such a decent person that if there was even a hint of anything, it would be devastating.
Yeah. I think your description of his kind of radical self-acceptance implies that he is accepting of others as whoever they are. So there's this kind of sense of, here's a guy you could hang with, like Dolly Parton. She ain't judging nobody. Like Jack Black is so happy with himself. There's no way he's going to be, uptight or judgy about anything. So,
I don't know if I'd want to hang out with him though.
Michael doesn't want to hang out with anybody, so
no.
why would he be different?
I think that there would be definitely like a limit. I think you go into being like, my alarm goes off. It's 45 minutes later, and you're like, I got it. I got it. I'm good, because I think it could be a matter of too much. Too much Jack Black goes a long way too.
Yeah, he would be somebody that we would have met at the kickball bar from another team and would have started talking to us about the game that they played, and 45 minutes later was still talking about something completely unrelated to the game at that point, but was still talking.
You do one of those things where you just like, you turn 30 degrees and you're like, I'm gonna stand this way now. Slightly turn your back to them, and as you're starting up a non-conversation with the wall. Yeah.
I had a sighting of him when I lived in LA, and it was basically just climbing a flight of stairs to this Channel 101 event, and he was literally taking, I think, 4 stairs at a time, like something that's very Jack Black, but not Jack Black at the same time. Like the tremendous athleticism. It's what I think people said about Belushi, was that here was this guy who looked like he could be subject to a coronary, but he was tremendously athletic and lithe and just exuberant all the time. So okay, so this is Michael Winfield joint, so that means Richard goes first.
Yeah, and I will address the elephant in the room that Jeff sort of brought up earlier. Yeah, I kind of look like Jack Black.
All right.
That's my number one choice, is me, apparently looking like Jack Black.
That is radical that is the acceptance of Jack Black that spills over into self-adoration.
It's your own life, yeah. No, my oldest kids' friends, apparently their Shakespeare theater group, have made a running joke of every time I show up to pick them up or drop them off or do something, they go to them and go, "Hey, look, there's your father, Jack Black." And it took me a while to get a kind of come to terms with this. Because look, let's be honest. If someone says, "Hey, you remind me of a famous movie star," you'd be, your thought is, "Oh, that's great, really. George Clooney? Brad Pitt?" No, the really fat, loud one. That's not what you're looking for necessarily in a celebrity doppelganger. But I have been convinced that many women find Jack Black attractive.
Okay.
That apparently he's a type for many women, so I should just shut up and deal with it.
All right.
This is mainly coming from my wife.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my first choice. It's just the fact that even though I don't, and Jeff is providing the physical comparison on the screen if you're watching the YouTube video. I don't think I look that much like him. I think I've got long hair, got a beard, kind of got the same body shape, but I don't think facially we look alike. But
yeah, certainly you're not funny. You have no musical talent.
Yes,
you have nothing you're contributing to society otherwise. So
not successful on any level.
Yeah.
So no, like we were at the Zoo Lights this year, and we were walking one way, and a group of teenage girls were walking the other way, and my family just overheard them as soon as they passed us. "Oh my God, I thought that was Jack Black," as they walked past me. And it was just like another point of like, yeah, I get it. Okay, that's who I'm going to be compared to. Which I guess it could be worse. When I had shorter hair and I didn't have a beard, I used to always get compared to, what's his name from the Howard Stern show? The comedian. A lot of drug problems.
Artie Lang?
Artie Lang. I used to get compared to Artie Lang. That one I was positive wasn't a good comparison.
Oh, yeah.
So compared to being compared to Artie Lang, I will take being compared to Jack Black 100 times out of 100.
Well, there needs to be you need to turn this into an advantage. I mean, I know that recently Jack Black has been wearing like kind of kaleidoscopic tie-dye and like almost dressed up like a Weird Al character. You need to get an outfit like that and just see how far see if you can get behind the scenes at the zoo.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
Like start making up some like nonsense words and like see if you could shake hands with a capybara or a pet, an emu or whatever it is.
Let me get my rat-a-tat-too-zoo going on with that bear.
Yeah.
Was it like Jack Black is in terms of him looking like other people? It was funny that. There's the meme floating around, which I'm surprised that people even relate to, is Christopher Cross has looked like both members of Tenacious D in one lifetime. we see young Christopher Cross looking Jack Blackish and the older version looking Kyle Glassish. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, there are worse people to be compared to, for sure, Richard.
Yeah, no. I've come to terms with it. It was just a little jarring at first because it kind of just sprung up over the last year that I've kind of let my hair grow out and grown out the beard.
Yeah. Yeah.
That suddenly I'm getting this all the time, and I never
Yeah.
used to get that before.
Well, that's funny. I think of the uh, when I think of like humor is an important thing to me, and it was in my family growing up. Humor was this kind of commodity. Certainly wasn't good grades in school, or you know, for me, athleticism. So humor was this kind of like survival mechanism. But I feel like yeah, humor is, I think, for survival mechanism of the unattractive. and, and it is something I never wanted to be. I wanted to be attractive and charming, and, and somebody that people would want to hang all over. But that's not how the cards played out. And I think that's true with Jack Black too. It's like, here's somebody who seems so comfortable with his body, with what he was dealt, with what he's got, and that's radical self acceptance and love just kind of spills over to the point where I think people do find him attractive. So yeah. Winfield, what do you got?
Well, I broke mine down into 4 little categories, something that I used to do quite often, and they were Tenacious D. One was a Tenacious D skit, a Tenacious D song, a movie role, and then I did wild card. So the first thing that I think Jack Black is most notably, at least initially, recognizable for, Tenacious D, the TV series that lasted like 3 episodes. And it's funny you think about something that you affiliate with somebody, and it was like literally there was 3 HBO 25-minute episodes that were cut into 2 parts each, and they each had a little song and like one kind of central aspect, and like that's it. That's all that like was built upon initially Jack Black and Kyle Gass, and then they put out an album and later a movie, and have been touring with that for the past 20 something years in some respects. But so my first choice for a Tenacious D sketch was I wrote it down. It is The Greatest Song in the World, which is which not only is a great song, but it's just it's just a funny bit about this telling of a story where they encounter the devil and get pulled into a what's his name? The devil went down to Georgia sort of moment where they're confronted with the devil, and their challenge is to write the greatest song in the world or to play it, and they play it, and the song they sing isn't that song. It's a song about the song they're singing. It's very meta and very funny, but like in the episode or in the music video for the song, it's like it's what's his name from Foo Fighters dressed up as the devil, Dave Grohl, and some other guy. It's just ridiculous. It's everything about them that is ridiculous. They're this duo that are in over their heads in every way as performers, and they think that they are the most amazing band in the world, but they're just kind of like so mediocre. They play like a kind of like a stand-up open mic night, and like that. I think like everything is kind of culminating in like this sort of ultra meta narrative that just kind of captures like the show very perfectly. It's ridiculous and it's not quite psychedelic, but just kind of like all over the place. And I think that's probably my favorite sketch of theirs from that show.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that show was riffing off this early premise of Seinfeld, in which we would intercut between him as a performer standing against the brick wall in the comedy club and then his life. And I felt like Tenacious D kind of did that. We saw them showcased as performers, and in a way I think it was very LA because it seems like in every open mic I ever went to in LA, there were all these actors who were killing time as musicians. And that was kind of what I think Jack Black was doing in that duo, was just finding another creative outlet on stage. But yeah, the kind of Crossroads mythology, the Faustian mythology that's captured in there. And what I love is the kind of the two versions. The HBO version actually had Stairway as the kind of implied greatest song in the world. And then when it went to a standalone video, or maybe when it went to the album or something like that, they got rid of that whole Stairway thing. And it was just, but you were, like they were still talking about, it's still attributed. This isn't the song, but yeah. Fuck, it's a good fucking song too. It's a good song. It's a better song than a comedy song needs to be. That song, like, it's awesome.
Yeah, in the same way that
Robert.
Go ahead.
The Robert Johnson myth. The Robert Johnson Crossroads myth and the Faust myth.
Yeah, it's all mixed together, and the Tenacious D songs are really good in a way, in the same way that I think, and this is kind of a spiritual, I think, son of Tenacious D would be Jermaine and Brett from Flight of the Conchord. In the same way that they're kind of a show within a show, and the songs themselves, they're supposed to be a struggling band, but the songs happen to be really good, which is always kind of you have two choices in life. You can either make the song actually be bad, but in a funny way, or you can just go ahead and make good songs. And Tenacious D just went ahead and made good songs.
I think that is one of the most surprising things about Jack Black and Kyle Gass. They're both very good musicians, and Jack Black is like a pretty extraordinary singer in his own right. Like he can hit some pretty high notes amongst all the ridiculousness of how he sings. Go find his version or their version of Wicked Game. Like, he can nail this great Chris Isaak song in a way that you're like, oh, well, maybe I don't want to like it as much as I do, because that video and that song by Chris Isaak is so iconic. But he's like, he sings the shit out of it. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Who was it? Do either of you have Mr. Show on your?
No, but I
don't.
I do love looking at just our YouTube stream of this, our live video, and it's just Richard, number one's choice, Richard Manfredi. That just makes me so.
Absolutely. I also appreciate that my number one
updated.
choice is my name spelled wrong, Jeff.
That's incredible too.
Oh, sorry.
I've been doing the show with you for 7 years, and you still don't know how to spell my name.
Single D, 1D.
Yes.
Name for the cup. Name for the cup.
Name for the cup.
Manfredi. Shit. Okay. Oh, a tribute. Okay. Yeah. Well, what's funny is it almost burns him in. I think there's Jeepers Creepers. There's a segment from Mr. Show in which Jack Black, they do kind of a Jesus Christ Superstar kind of riff, and Jack Black is the title character. And after the segment, they go back to the in studio recorded parts, and somebody says, "Wow, that was great," and then somebody else said, "Yeah, but why wasn't it funny?" And like Mr. Show, Mr. Show kind of was often the first thing to take the piss out of their own segments. And the reality was, it wasn't that funny, but Jack Black was just great in it, and he just sang the hell out of the song, so it saved it. So here's the funny guy saving it again with his voice. So yeah, that's a good point. Richard, what's your second one? And is it another member of your family? Is it just yourself again, or what?
My cousin Jack Black. No, my second choice, and this kind of ties into what Michael was saying. I'll just sort of dummy off of that. Is Barry Jive and the Uptown Five.
Okay.
From High Fidelity. So it's very, very specifically the scene where Jack Black has managed to convince John Cusack's character to let his band sing a song at this record premiere party that he's hosting and DJing. And John Cusack is convinced it's going to be an absolute disaster because Barry is just a complete spastic mess and has no confidence in whatsoever that he's going to put up a credible performance. And they get up on stage, and he says, goes into the whole, we're in the process of changing our name to Kathleen Turner Overdrive. but currently we are Barry Jive in the Uptown Five, and then launches into this fucking incredible version of Let's Get It On. And having known Jack Black from Tenacious D before I saw High Fidelity, I knew he could sing. But I would imagine that a good portion of the general movie going population didn't. And they probably had a very similar reaction to what John Cusack's character had in the movie, which is just open mouth, being stunned and amazed by what he's seeing happening. And that was, I remember when that movie came out, and that scene specifically is a scene where you could really see somebody become a star. You know, that was kind of a breakout moment for Jack Black. I mean, obviously he went on to do other bigger movies, but in terms of breaking out from being this sort of cult comedy guy and guy who had been in, you know, lots of small roles in movies here and there, to really becoming a name in comedy on his own, that was the movie that did it for him, and that was the scene that did it for him. So I think that it's hard to tell the story of Jack Black without talking about High Fidelity and without talking about Barry Jive and the Uptown Five.
Yeah, I'm the guy you described. I had not seen. I had no idea he could just crush it, and I think that movie does such a misdirect the whole time. Like you said, yeah, they're establishing how awful it's going to be, and then he goes
Yeah.
and kills it. I do think also they were kind of. It's killing me that I'm trying to look up the name of the other performer who was the other quirky record store employee, and so it seemed to be kind of almost like about John Cusack's character obviously was the lead, but then the gloriously goofy people who worked with him. But after that scene, the other guy doesn't exist anymore. Todd Luiso does not exist anymore. Geez, that poor guy, because now he's not even in the movie anymore.
Yeah, he got blown out of the whole movie basically just by this force of nature known as Jack Black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think we talked about Tenacious D and we talked about that identity. I remember hearing in Pick of Destiny, isn't kind of their creation myth of the D that KG kind of teaches JB how to play guitar, or like he takes lessons, or he's under his tutelage, and they have such a simpatico kind of vibe on stage. Like they're both in on the same joke. Like I don't even think even Garth and Wayne are on the same frequency as much as Jack and Kyle are.
Sure.
And it makes me wonder how much of JB was stolen from KG. Like how much did Jack Black see this persona and think that I'm going to be that, but more that, and turn that into my calling card? That's obviously speculation, but
well, let's go with it.
Okay, let's go with it. Whenever I see Anchorman, Paul F. Tompkins is kind of in the background of some scenes in Anchorman, and Paul F. Tompkins was doing that character, this kind of indignant kind of announcer kind of person, for years before what's his head came along.
Will Ferrell,
at that point, Will Ferrell kind of took this persona. This is all speculation. Sorry, it's not about me. It's about you guys and your things. So
got very heated about Paul F. Tompkins over here, Jeff.
Woo. Okay, Michael, what's your second one?
Well, listen, I'll stick with Tenacious D, but I'm going to stick with a very specific song from their first album, and I think it really kind of exemplifies like the Jack Black Tenacious D persona versus like the Kyle Gass persona. And Jack Black in a song called City Hall, actually a 3-part song. It's called City Hall, I Believe in God / Malibu, maybe Malibu Nights. And the song is all about how the government is terrible and we need to go and we need to tear down City Hall and we need to make things right for everybody and we need to make all these laws that are just and fair. And then the song quickly turns into like, actually, I'm going to be in charge and we're going to get rid of Kyle. It's like, it combines like the secret like friendship, but then it really is all about just getting rid of Kyle out of the band, out of like leadership. And it's just so funny that there's like within their band, and it has like, there's definitely like this deviousness to Jack Black. He kind of has a kind of imp sort of like real sneaky quality to him that is always seems to like come out in so many different things that he does. And then the song, it's stupid and it's all about actually I'm going to be in charge, and then it leads into like this really just dumb bit where they're just playing around, and then there's this long pause, and it's like, it's the old thing that used to happen when there was like almost like hidden tracks on a CD that they wouldn't list the track number, and then he just starts riffing a song called Malibu Nights, which is just, it's dumb. Kyle just starts playing guitar, maybe Jack plays guitar, and he just starts riffing into this other song, and it's so, the entire like 9 minutes of it is so unnecessary, and I think that and all over the place, and I think that is just, it's just, I think perfectly, that one song perfectly captures his persona as a song in and of itself.
I love it.
Yeah, I
that
love
was
this
always
song.
one of my favorite things. Richard, why do you like it?
Oh, mainly for those motherfuckers at City Hall. One of the best lines of any song ever.
Yeah. It's just so good.
My favorite comedy groups have always been these kind of loose, anarchic assemblages. And as a kid, before I knew they were brothers, you ever watch Marx Brothers movie, you'd see they would sell each other out so quickly.
Right.
They would kind of come together, and if Harpo could capture Chico in a dog catcher's truck and then sell him to the police or something like that, he would. Groucho at any point was looking to just pickpocket anybody and just leave. So it was such a loose assemblage with questionable loyalty. The petty nature of the relationship was always so entertaining. So hey, this episode has been sponsored by Jack Black.
Oh, really? Didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, not the actor.
Oh,
yeah. This is a fabric dye that has been
Japanese.
discontinued. Yeah, Japanese fabric dye that's has a lot of toxic components to it and chemicals involved in it, and they're really having a tough time marketing this in Japan right now, where they know about it. And so we're trying to push it in the U.S. So you should try it. We do not take any liability if you get injured, if you become poisoned.
Now here's a question: How black is this Jack Black? Is it like a pure black, like the one that where you see like the experimental color, where like this is the blackest, or is it more like a faded concert shirt that you got from like the Goodwill? That is like barely hanging on. It's all, I mean, gray would be kind to call it that, but it's still technically black.
It is. It is Spinal Tap album cover black. So none more black.
None more black.
And it's also great because you could use it to dye your clothes or your hair, according to the ad copy we received.
Was that wow?
Which I certainly wouldn't doubt. Legally.
It was loosely translated. That copy was so hard to even understand what they. But we finally got a sponsor.
Yeah, yay! Thank you, Jack Black Dyes, but not Jack Black dying.
Well, as we're getting that, so wrapping up our halftime here, and what I think is interesting is there was much of Tenacious D, and much of I think Jack Black's kind of, or Tenacious D, I think benefited from the kind of the turnaround that the world had kind of on black metal, on heavy metal, black metal, and
Yeah.
some of those musicians and music that seemed to be kind of passe, and then kind of had an emergence again on MTV in like the Headbangers Ball, stuff like that. But then like Deathlock and all these things made it so kind of fun again to like that. And I think a lot of his persona was kind of tied with the appreciation of that, which is, I think, is neat. Okay, Richard, what's your third?
My third one is one of my favorite performances of his in a movie. And it's not a big movie, not one that was one of his $100 million hits. It's a Richard Linklater film called Bernie.
Oh yeah.
And it's the biopic about Bernie Sanders, which is odd that Jack Black would play him. No, it's not. It is based on a true story in Texas about a very mild-mannered assistant mortuary mortician, I guess, played by Jack Black, who's just very sweet and beloved in his small town, winds up befriending a recently widowed woman played by Shirley MacLaine. And over time, no one else in town likes this lady, but he becomes friends with her and they get very close. And then over time, she becomes a little bit more overbearing and a little bit more overbearing, and just imposing on his time and imposing on him over and over and over again, and just pushing him to his brink. So one day he snaps and kills her. And they wind up finding her body in his freezer in his garage. But the problem is, everyone in this town loved Bernie so much because he was such a sweet person. And nobody in town liked the Shirley MacLaine character because she was just a cold fish, basically. That they couldn't get a fair trial of him in his hometown. And part of the movie is about Matthew McConaughey plays the prosecutor, who is just frustrated with the whole case because nobody in his hometown wants to vote, would be willing to vote to convict him, even though he confessed to the murder. And it's just this sort of wonderful portrait of a person just kind of who is desperately searching for a connection in his life and thinks he found one with this old lady. And it just turns out to be a nightmare, and it's just sort of like the last straw for him. But the way he plays Bernie, you can just see every aspect of his happiness just draining the more that Shirley MacLaine's character keeps sort of grinding on him and harping on him and having him do things for her and just taking up all of his free time and just I don't want to say that you sympathize with him because he does straight up murder her, but the movie is certainly made so you feel empathy for him, if nothing else, if that's different than sympathy. And it's just a really fun dark comedy, and he plays the character as a beloved Southern eccentric without overplaying it, so it still feels like it's a real character. And I think he was fantastic in it. And I know had been talk of Oscar talk for him when this movie came out, and I certainly wouldn't have been against it because I think he did it. There have been several movies where Jack Black has been asked to do more dramatic stuff. King Kong, for example, and not always successful. But this one, because it was the right mix of dark comedy and drama and everything else, I think was a really great movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, do yourself a favor and go see Bernie.
Yeah, I agree. I think the restraint that he used. So imagine like you're Peter Sellers doing Being There, and you're
Yeah.
known for these big over the top characters, and what I think Bernie shows incredible. Jack plays him as a person who anybody else. He kind of made a meal out of the role, but you believed him 100% as authentic. Like it never
Yeah.
seemed like he was winking at the camera. We don't know everything about Bernie's maybe romantic life or these other things that maybe he but it does seem like somebody who was showing less discretion could have gone way over the top with it if it was
Yeah,
Jim Carrey or somebody
Jim
like that.
Carrey. I was just gonna say Jim Carrey would have
Yeah.
absolutely eaten this role up in big, huge bites.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. Definitely a very restrained performance while still retaining, a lot of funny
Yeah.
aspects of it.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. We talked
I'm gonna
about
check it out.
Have we talked about the knockoff Jack Black? Who's the guy
Oh,
who kind of
Dan
looks like?
Fogler?
Is that who it is? Dan,
Could
the
be.
guy who was in all these different movies. I don't know if it's Balls of Steel or something like.
Yeah,
like
it's Dan Fogler.
Dan Folk. Yeah, he was the guy. Like, well, we couldn't. All these scripts that were written for Jack Black, and there were stacks of them. Some of them actually got produced, and some of them went to that guy.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
I knew Dan Fogler because I got to see he was in the Broadway performance of 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which he actually won a Tony Award for. So I got to see him on Broadway doing that before he did any movie stuff. And yes, it was definitely, even seeing him in that was like, oh, this guy's got a little bit of Jack Black in him.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I realize that's kind of a off the track here, but it did seem like Jack Black, like Jim Carrey, was such a big presence. And I do remember like going to auditions overnight. Every script that you got for a shampoo commercial or whatever, the shorthand for funny went from Jim Carrey to Jack Black like instantly. There was no, and I this is another sideline. Do you recall ever like I would say one of the best performances Jack Black ever gave was Chris Pratt. It seems like Chris Pratt took his comedic persona, like whenever Chris Pratt's trying to be funny, for me, he's literally impersonating Jack Black from some of his films or performances. So, okay. All right, Michael.
My third choice is my movie choice for Jack Black, and it's the animated feature of Kung Fu Panda.
Oh yeah.
I think Jack Black's character in that is the most affable he's ever been in any movie. Richard, you mentioned Carl. I can't remember his last name. Carl Denham in King Kong earlier, where he kind of plays like a shisty character, and I think a lot of his characters that he kind of leans towards are kind of dicks, kind of know-it-alls, kind of assholes, kind of there's something not trustworthy about him. Certainly,
right.
his character, School of Rock is that same. He's lying his way to make some money to whatever. And there's also goodness in all of these people for the most part. But in Kung Fu Panda, he plays just the character is so. He's just so full of hope, but also self-doubt. He's it plays towards his type, his body type, that is both becomes this asset to him, but he's also like humbled by it often, and like all of the things that like it's a very Jack Black character, but he's so sweet, and so he takes all of like the Jack Blackness into it and puts it into like this just extremely likable, excitable guy who just is so happy to see his heroes and be close to them, and then he gets there and he's knocked down and learns to be himself and learns to accept himself as who he is as an animal, but who he is as a character. And I think it was just so good from just every part of it to the final battle where he's using his body to defeat the big giant snowcat bad guy.
Oh yeah.
And
Ian McShane. I don't remember the character. Yeah.
Kung Pao or Kai Lung or something like that, but where he
Kai Lung, literally
wins over all the different other comedians and animals that are so hardened to whatever that they all come along to see him as great for what he is, and what he is who he is, not trying to be somebody. He stops trying to be somebody else and is just Poe, and it's just I think it's probably my favorite role because it captures all those different things, and he's just so good. He's just so good in it. And
Man,
it's
I
just
agree. Do your kids do your kids watch that movie? Either
Yeah,
of you?
they did. We saw it when they came out at the drive-ins, and that was a movie that I had very low expectations for.
Mhm.
You know, it was a DreamWorks film. You
yeah,
know, who
right there.
knows if Jack Black is going to be way over the top or what he's going to bring to the table. You know, it could have. It's a movie that easily could have gone sideways. But all of the Kung Fu Panda movies are just, I think, very visually stunning.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Like the visuals look great, and then the character is, it's like 85% Jack Black.
Yeah.
He's like toning it down just enough to make it work, so it's not scaring the kids, I guess.
That is an interesting
Work.
aspect of my two favorite Jack Black, I think, films are probably Kung Fu Panda and the School of Rock. I don't know if that's on your list or not.
Yeah, School of Rock is my last choice, by the
All
way.
right.
Super.
Well,
No, we can talk about it. Go for
Yeah,
it.
let's talk
Yeah,
about
I mean, it as much as we talked about High Fidelity being the thing that sort of kicked off his career, but the thing that took Jack Black's career from being recognized comedic actor to comedy like superstar was School of Rock. And I was looking up and I was trying to find out if this movie was written specifically with Jack Black in mind, and I didn't see anything like that, so I don't think that it was. But come on. Is there any other actor who could have successfully played that role? I don't know. Not like Jack Black did. I mean,
Yeah, he has to be a loser, but also a know-it-all.
Are you suggesting I could have played that role, Michael?
I mean, you know, you should
Dan
have done it.
Fogler. Dan
Dan
Fogler. Come on,
Fogler could have played it. Yeah.
man. I
But-
so agree with you there.
Yeah, it's to me, it's amazing that this one movie has become such a cultural kind of iconic movie almost in popular culture. Not just now, it's not just a movie, it was a TV series, it's a Broadway musical. You know, you see these like 10-year reunions with the cast, 15-year reunions with the cast, whatever, however long ago it's been at this point. And it's just this cultural juggernaut from this one sort of, not intended to be like this big splashy Hollywood blockbuster movie, but something about that movie captured people specifically of a certain age, a little bit younger than me. But I love it. Not to say anything about that, but it definitely captured the attention of a slightly younger audience. People are probably in their 30s now. People who were kids when School of Rock came out. Maybe there was a bit of wish fulfillment about that. That wouldn't it be cool if you had a teacher who rocked out and let you play instruments and do stuff like that? Maybe as a kid there was some wish fulfillment happening there. So I don't know if that's why it's such a beloved movie, but I just know it's one of those iconic cultural movies for a certain percentage of our population. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I for sure think that. I think what's interesting is we kind of segued from Kung Fu Panda into this, and I wonder how many Jack Black films have premises that involve mistaken identity, or the person who is perceived to be the wrong person for the job, who ultimately is exactly the right person for the job, which he is in both those films. And one of my favorite movie musicals ever is The Music Man. It's a guy who shows up planning to rip everybody off, who doesn't see himself as well as others see him, and then in the end ends up just inspiring the hell out of people and getting out of the way of his own identity, and in allowing all these other people who want to be inspired by music or hope or whatever to get that inspiration. And that, for me, that the key of School of Rock is he comes on stage playing not that, there's that song that he writes, The Legend of the Rent, that's kind of like that City Hall kind of song where it's like his big epic, kind of sticking it to the man kind of comeuppance song.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
shared DNA there for sure.
Yeah. And then foregoes that after this self-realization and actually kind of like point where he tells the kids, I'm not that good. The thing we all knew the whole time, that even the kids, I'm not that good. And that for me, that crowd surfing scene where he finally jumps out, and his personal authenticity, his self-honesty has now allowed him to be the kind of person that people want to support and not drop to the ground. So yeah, freaking love that. Yeah. And I think that's maybe even the key to his kind of identity, that kind of radical self-acceptance, for sure. So Richard's wait, did I mess this up? Oh, School of Rock. That's up there.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, what's your last one, and why is it Mandalorian?
My last choice is him playing the baby Grogu. No, it is Jack Black's performance of Sax-a-Boom. And if you haven't seen it, there are many clips of him, whether he's playing with Tenacious D or if he's playing it solo on like a live performance on like Jimmy Kimmel or whoever. Jack Black pulls out this kind of early 90s toy plastic saxophone that has a bunch of like funky presets to it. And he goes about putting it around his neck, or sometimes he'll have a roadie come out and put it around his neck, and he treats it so seriously. And he starts to play it, and he goes, and he just plays a little bit of it, and then he always stops and like checks it and like wipes it down, and he plays a little bit again, and he checks it just to kind of make sure all the fingering is right. And then he just pretends to play this thing by pressing one note or one key, and it just plays the same dumb song. And it's like 27 seconds long. But what I love about it is how serious and ridiculous it is at the same time. It is something that anybody could do. You can imagine your kid walking around with a literal toy and just playing a song as if he's invented this tune or he's marching around, but he treats it so seriously. And I think that is just one of those aspects of him. He is this ridiculous person that does things so well. And even the things that he's pretending to do, he does so well. And when you get a chance, just go Sax-a-Boom it up. And it never is not funny to me in any context, because he treats it as if he's like making the music when he's just like pressing the buttons on a toy. And I think that him as a performer is just really kind of a musical performance, like encapsulated in this really silly thing. And I just love when a grown-up is silly. It's one of the reasons why I think I love like so many different British comedies, like The Young Ones or Monty Python. I love grown men, grown women, whoever, just being silly. And it's such the silliest thing.
Yeah.
Well,
not just funny, like, anybody, there are a lot of funny people, but it's specifically a silly thing that's just like, oh my goodness, love it.
You sent a link to this. Is this like the preeminent performance? Was this on YouTube or something?
Yeah, no, they're all the same. They're all basically the same. They're all the same version of it, whether he's doing it for like a talk show and like, or if he's on stage with a full band. Like, I think who's the talk show that has the Roots as the backing band?
That's Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. He does it on that, and like the Roots will kind of kick in and play with him. Yeah. So I just love people being in on the joke,
Yeah. That's awesome. He does seem like one of those performers too that you just say Jack Black and people already have this idea of him. If you said Jack Black was in this movie or in this whatever, people already have the sense of what that is. So cool. All right. Any parting comments?
No, just zabba dabba zabba doo.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Riggedy-diggedy.
All right. Rickety. This has been the Mount Rushmore of this thing. And so let's go. Let's see if I can get this figured out. Okay, yeah, here we go. All right. Here are the winning things. The number one aspect of Jack Black is Richard Manfredi. If Jack Black looks like Richard Manfredi, then I love Jack Black.
You know what? Good for Jack Black. He should be lucky that he looks like
Good
me.
for him. Like they had the awesomeness to be looking like you.
Yeah,
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, let's stay with Richard Manfredi for a while.
No, I was just gonna say I hope he gets people coming up to him saying, "You look like that podcast host."
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sure, he gets
we
it
know
all.
we've made it. Yeah.
Let's go with Kung Fu Panda. Let's go with Saxaboom because Michael, I feel like you definitely encapsulated his persona in that so skillfully that who he is with that toy is all of who he is. This childish but also dexterous, brave.
He'd be a hell of an uncle.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Not sure
And
about
then-
as a dad, but as an uncle,
Yeah.
A+.
And then, speaking of uncle or his family, isn't his mother a famous mathematician or something that worked for the U.S. space program?
Looking that up right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think she worked for like JPL. She or something like that. She like did a lot of the math in the late
Apollo
60s.
13. Yeah, sorry, not to make her sound derivative. Judith
Love Cohen.
Love Cohen, who more than just Jack Black's mother, a pivotal character in space and science on her own. So that I think is really interesting.
I will say one last thing that I think he is very unquestionably a premier LA personality.
Yeah,
I think he's one of those guys that is in and of LA and comfortable, very representative, or like, they're like those guys that go to like Flea is like a very of LA person. They're not necessarily like, they don't necessarily represent anything about LA or whatever, but they are a very LA person. I think Jack Black is right up there. It's just like, man, this guy's, he's all about that lifestyle, whatever it is.
Yeah, you would expect to see him either at a Lakers game or some sort of like street carnival.
Yeah.
And he could be at either one of those, like small street carnival, like
could be at the
some
LA
church
Zoo.
carnival. Could be at the LA
Going
Zoo.
behind the scenes to do whatever. Or
You never know.
Well, it's funny. I took that almost as the entertainment industry because I think of him and his origins with like the Actors Gang and Tim Robbins and those kind of groovy cats too, as being like that as like an LA acting troupe, because there's not a lot of them in LA. Everybody else is trying to get like toothpaste commercials to be in an acting troupe. But that's an interesting comment. Totally agree. And the last of the four is School of Rock. So that has been the Mount Rushmore of Jack Black. I am always Jeff.
I am either Richard or Jack Black. I still can't tell which one.
Dan Vogler.
Possibly Dan Vogler.
I'm Michael.
And
Skadoosh.
Skadoosh.